Let's see what good old NBC has to say about their own party. Usually, I know I'm not really big into doing politics and stuff, but I will put my toe into the water and see if the fish are gonna bite or not. They're probably gonna bite, but whatever. That's what happens when you dip your toe into the water full of fish that are meat eaters, like piranha. So let's move on to see how the Democratic Party are doing.
NBC News national political correspondent Steve Kornacki is at the big board. So, Steve, break down what makes 2026 different than 2018.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Ryan, because when you look at the bottom line numbers, that's what you have on the screen right now. The balance of power in the House, 4 vacancies is.
The difference between now and 18? Let me guess. They have a track record of how Biden and his party leads the country, and they have a track record on how Trump leads the country. He doesn't do everything perfect. Trump's not a deity, obviously. He's not the Kim Jong-un of America. But he is trying to do the right thing. I could see it. But again, not everyone's perfect, but he's a lot more better than Biden. That's just a freaking reality. I don't even think Biden was able to walk around on his own 2 feet without having a cane or having someone guide him. I didn't think he had the maneuverability in his hands to use a cane. But no, the main reason why people are voting for Republicans is they have a track record now. And the news can't hide it. They can't. But let's continue off with my rant.
Essentially, if these vacancies were filled, it would probably be 220 Republican seats, 215 Democratic seats. As thin a majority as you could get for Republicans. That means if Republicans take that majority into the midterms next year, they can afford a net loss of no more than 2 seats. And you know the history of midterms. The White House party almost always loses seats. You mentioned 2018 when Republicans lost 40 seats in Donald Trump's first midterm. So how could he actually be in a...
Clip it, do whatever you want with it. My guess is they're going to gain seats. I think they're going to gain seats. Even with all this extra stuff with Jeffrey Epstein and a couple other things, I think the amount of wins that he's had is going to change people's minds. So I think they're going to gain seats. Do whatever you want. I might be wrong. Let's see who's right or wrong.
Position where we're talking about the House being in play next year, at least potentially. Well, it's because the makeup of that Republican majority that got decimated in 2018 is very different from the makeup of the Republican majority right now. And that's what we want to show you right here. Republicans in 2018 were exposed all over the place. Check this out here. Republicans in 2018 in districts that had been carried by Hillary Clinton in the 2016 presidential election, anti-Trump districts, there were 25 of them in the 2018 midterms. There are only 3 Republicans right now representing districts.
Oof. Didn't I just say they're going to gain seats? What can I say?
That Donald Trump didn't carry in the last presidential election. How about the next rung here? Call these sort of marginally pro-Trump districts. These are districts that Trump won by less than 7.5 points. There were 23 of these in 2018 midterms. There's almost a similar number now, 19, not quite as high. But we're highlighting these 2 groups because this is where Republicans suffered almost all of their damage in the 2018 midterms. Of those 25 from anti-Trump districts in 2018, Republicans lost 22 of those seats. Of the 23 that were marginally pro-Trump, Republicans lost 2/3 of them. You can't see it because of the red on red there, but 15 of the 23. 22 and 15. 37 losses of seats by Republicans in these 2 categories in 2018. That's almost all of the losses that they suffered. It was a 40-seat defeat for them. And you can see right now, again, only 3 in anti-Trump districts and a slightly smaller number, 19 in those marginally pro-Trump districts. You could play this out and look at the other types of districts here. There were a couple of upsets in 2018 of Republicans in solidly pro-Trump districts, and then there were no Republican losses in this category, the Trump landslide districts in 2018. And look, the Republicans have fewer overall seats.
Jesus. Yeah, the Democratic Party, they're in trouble, guys. Here's the reason why they're in trouble. I'll give you a couple examples. The LGBTQTP plus whatever community, I call them the, no, that's not what I call them. Let's say the Dave Chappelle fans would call them the alphabet people. They overinvest in that community because their worldview, I don't, whatever. I don't have any hate towards that community. You do you. Just don't walk around in the streets in a stripper's outfit or essentially naked, because there's children out on the streets with their parents walking, doing their stuff. So, first advice for the Democratic Party: stop putting almost all of your resources into that. Second thing, actually support the border being shut down and support policies that help the government do that rather than hurt it. And number three, sanctuary cities. You have officially lost the argument when it comes to people that are not supposed to be here being here. You've lost the argument. Move on. Take the L. You're not going to gain votes through numbers of immigrants in California. That's done. They're looking at that now. My assumption is in a couple of years they're going to be rid of that, so only citizens be counted in the census. I think that's going to be a thing in the future. I do. And help the people get those people who do not belong out. If you actually do those four things, country would be a lot better, and people would actually stop looking at you like you are idiots. This is embarrassing to the Democratic Party. I'm not really a Democrat myself. I generally lean more towards right, but I have some Democratic views. Like, I think the debt slavery that credit card companies are allowed to get away with by putting 30% interest rates on cards that stupid people can't understand. I think that's wrong. I think that should be somewhat illegal somehow, just mandated. I don't know how. I'm not the guy who writes down the numbers for those, but I have a couple of views. But they're in trouble. The Democratic Party might not be here in 10 years. They probably will, but we'll see.
Now, but there are more Republicans in truly safe Trump landslide districts. So if you're looking ahead to 2026,
promises made, promises kept. That is why you keep your promises. People will vote for you.
and what Republicans are trying to pull off right here, it would essentially be, look, can you protect, can you really severely limit your loss in these two categories? This is where the damage was done in 18. If Republicans could hold the losses here to somewhere in, say, the mid-high single digits, that's where this topic now that's starting to get some attention of redistricting could come into play. Republicans in two states in particular, Ohio and Texas, poised, it would appear, to do mid-decade redistricting here ahead of.
I really don't want to hear about any arguments when it comes to redistricting because both sides do it. I think it's stupid either way. I think it's ridiculous, and I truly believe that you shouldn't be allowed to do that. Oh, hello, Bossiki. Thanks for the follow. I just saw you.
Next year's congressional elections, midterm elections. And what could that mean? We'll take a look in Texas right now. The current House balance from the Texas delegation is 25-13 for the Republicans, and the current balance in Ohio is 10-5 for the Republicans. Now, the estimates vary. We don't know what Republicans are going to end up doing, all the sort of caveats you want on that, but 25-13 could, Dave Wasserman from Cook Political Report, who knows this stuff well, said they could maximally get to 30-8 for Republicans, depending on how they do the math 10-5. At its a peak for Republicans, they could potentially redraw this to make it 13-2. So what would that be? That would be a gain, if both of those things happened, of 8 seats for Republicans. So think about that. If they were able to get something in that ballpark out of Texas and out of Ohio, and you went back to what we just showed you right here, if they limit the damage here and offset it with Texas and Ohio, they could actually be in the game to hold on to their majority. Now, there's so many ifs in here, Ryan. We're talking about we don't know what the political climate's going to be like in the fall of 18. If it's a truly, a hostile political environment for Trump, no amount of map redrawing can probably undo that damage. There's even talk for Democrats now of trying to counter this in redistricting in some blue states as well. But bottom line, when Republicans look at that, compare it to 2018, and throw in those potential redraws in Ohio and Texas, the math does start to get potentially interesting, at least from this vantage point.
All right. At some point, they'll just vote, Steve, and then we'll know the answer, right? And it'll get to that point somewhere down the road. All right.
And
at some point, they'll just vote. Yeah, you're right. The people will vote to gain more Republican seats, you freaking buffoon. What an idiot. Oh, yeah, we'll just vote. How'd that work out for you last year? Oh my gosh, these people are foolish.